I'm Idiotech, and this is my review of the Battlefield 1 multiplayer for PC. The game retails for $60 and is brought to you by EA and DICE. So, unlike the single-player component of the game, which I actually found to be rather enjoyable, and it was a pleasant surprise given the terrible campaigns of old, the multiplayer is kind of more of the same. Now, I had a number of problems with the beta, and I did provide those thoughts in my beta impressions video, so if you want to go back and watch that, you can. However, they did fix a number of complaints I had in the beta, and I want to address those quickly before we get into the review. So the light tank was very, very powerful in the beta, and they do seem to have nerfed it. I'm running into far less problems taking out light tanks. They don't seem to be the kill streak death machines they were previously, so that's a nice change. They've also fixed the medic system, so now you can actually see downed players on the map, and they've hidden the UI element that tells you to skip the whole death process. So that's nice as well. They didn't fix the snipers. There are still 1,000 snipers in the game. You'll run into entire squads of snipers. Half the team sometimes will be on hills sniping the other half of the team, which are on hills, or sniping the assault classes rushing to the objective. So they didn't fix that problem, but they did fix the light tanks, and they did fix the overall balance between infantry and tanks and taking them out. Tanks still feel very powerful, but you can deal with them now, and there are a lot of options for taking out tanks, and it does feel quite balanced in that regard. So those changes have been made and things have improved. So, let's talk about what's good about the multiplayer first, and then we'll get into what's bad about it. Obviously, the visuals are fantastic. They're virtually identical to the single-player visuals, which is very impressive given that it's a multiplayer game, and you have up to 64 people running around on the map simultaneously. Performance is wonderful. I had no performance issues whatsoever on my GTX 980 and my 5820K. I've also been talking to a couple of other people who run lower-end systems, and they're saying that if you turn some of the settings down, it runs well for them as well. So it seems to run well across the board, as you would expect from a Frostbite game. Next up, maps. The map variety in the multiplayer modes is quite impressive. You'll visit several locations, you'll visit the desert, you'll visit dense jungles, you'll visit sort of a rural town in France. There's a lot of variety there when it comes to visuals and map design, and I really, really enjoyed those things. The destruction is vastly improved over previous Battlefield games. I loved the destruction in Bad Company 2, but it did sometimes lead to a situation where the entire map would be demolished and there was very little cover for the infantry. They've resolved that this time around by having specific buildings that are not really easy to destroy or hard to destroy certain elements of the building that allow the infantry to take cover on points that they're trying to capture. Otherwise, most of the map is destructible, and it's a nice thing to see. So destruction's wonderful. They've also introduced the weather system, which was a big selling point for the game. And I actually really, really like the weather system, and the primary reason I like it is it stops snipers from being overpowered for at least a few minutes during games. Basically, it works like this. You'll get rain or fog or sandstorms or whatever, and it'll prevent visibility, which is nice because you end up forcing players to run into close quarters, and that's where most of the fun is in Battlefield. So the weather system does a good job of mitigating some of the sniper's power. The problem is it's not there all the time, but I do like it and it's visually very impressive. Next up, let's talk about classes. For the most part, I think the classes are actually well done. They're quite well balanced, and I think everyone has a very clear and distinct role. First up, you have assaults. So assaults in this game are like engineers from Battlefield 4. They are your primary class for taking out tanks. They have submachine guns, which, doesn't really fit with the theme of World War I, but they have them. And they can rush objectives and clear out targets at close range, and they can also get rid of tanks. They're a very useful class to have. You need at least one of them in your team. Medics are the class that most people are playing right now. They tend to run with a semi-automatic rifle, and they have medkits, and obviously they can revive people. Very useful class to have, and when people are actually playing them correctly and reviving their teammates, they're an essential item for any squad. So they're quite well balanced as well. Next up, you have support. Now, the support class has had a few changes, I think, since the beta. You now have a repair tool, which is good because repairing outside of vehicles is much faster. So that's available. You also have a mortar, which you can place down and strike enemy positions, so that's nice as well. And they carry a light machine gun, which is quite accurate, actually, and can do a decent amount of damage, but is slow firing, and, anyone with an assault class can just flank you and take you out. So that seems relatively well balanced as well. The only class that doesn't appear to be balanced is the sniper class. And this is a fundamental problem with Battlefield. A lot of people like to play snipers, obviously, because half of the fucking team is snipers. The problem with that is it kind of destroys the balance. Having 1 or 2 snipers to deal with on a map is a manageable thing. Having 10 is not so fucking manageable. And when you're trying to rush the objective or capture a point, the chances of you being sniped from somewhere you never saw are very, very high, and it can become incredibly frustrating. It'll also become frustrating when they camp at the spawn, and as soon as you spawn in, you get sniped in the head, and that will happen a lot in this game. The snipers are, in my opinion, the worst class in the game by far. They are also the most powerful, and you can run them without a scope and get one-shot kills on pretty much anyone at close range. So to me, they seem a little overpowered. Now, obviously they're not going to make this change, but the change I would like to see is that they limit the number of people who can play snipers. Have them be a special class, like the rest of the special classes on the map. For those of you who don't know, you can pick up a flamethrower kit or an anti-tank kit. Have a sniper kit. You know, take snipers out of the game, give us something else, and have snipers be something rare and powerful that everyone has to focus on and deal with. But instead of that, half the squad is snipers, and for me, I just don't find that very enjoyable or engaging. My final positive is the UI customization. There's a ton of UI customization options in this game, and one thing I really loved was the ability to change the color of my hit marker to tell me where I was hitting people. I could have, for example, my body hit marker be green, I could have my head hit marker be yellow, and my kill hit marker be red. And that was very, very helpful. It let me know quickly at a glance where I was hitting the player. And, you know, sometimes you're playing a game like this and you're like, I shot that guy in the head. Well, no, you didn't. And the game tells you that. And I think that's a very useful feature. So those are the positives, really. It looks great, it performs really well, I love the map design, I think the environments themselves are very nice. The destruction is back, really, from Bad Company 2. They have made a few changes here and there to keep the balance in order, but it's pretty damn good this time around. The weather systems are wonderful from both an immersion perspective and from a game balance perspective, and all three of the classes, other than snipers, are really well balanced in my opinion. UI customization is great. Overall, it's done quite well. Now let's get on to the bad things. New game modes. So they introduced a couple of new game modes this time around. One of them is called War Pigeon, which is basically a variant of Capture the Flag. Now, I'm sure it's a great game mode. The problem is, I wasn't able to get a game in it. I'm playing on PC, obviously, and we have dedicated servers, and there were a few servers hosting it, but there was no one playing, so I didn't get the opportunity to try out that game mode. This is kind of one of the problems you have with dedicated servers. If the community isn't interested in a new game mode, no one plays it, and therefore anyone who is interested never gets the opportunity to try it out. This extends to the new feature Operations. Now, I do have to say I am based in Australia. As such, we have a smaller population of people playing this game, so this could well have something to do with this, but I was not able to get a single game in Operations. Now, Operations, for those of you who don't know, is a new mode that allows you to take part in a map-based war. You'll have several sectors to capture as the attacking team and to defend as the defending team, and the mode happens over a number of games. So you'll play a number of games, I think it's up to 5, and you're trying to push your front line forward and they're trying to defend it. It's quite a neat idea. The problem is no one was playing it, and it's a matchmaking based service, so you can't queue up in a server for this mode, and as such, most people on PC are not going to use that. So in my experience, I wasn't able to get a single game. Every time I try and match made into a game, I was match made up with maybe 1 or 2 other people, and you needed 40 to 64 players for the mode to actually work, so I never actually got to play that mode. I'm sure it's quite engaging, I think it's quite a cool idea, but I couldn't play it. And that's a problem. If you live in a low density area, and I say low density in that Australia has about 23 million people, then you're going to have a hard time with some of those modes, especially on PC, where the community tends to focus on the servers. My next big complaint is the unlock system. Now, all Battlefield games have had this problem since Bad Company 2, and that is there are guns that are objectively better than other guns. The guns you start with are usually the worst, and as you progress throughout the game and you level up your classes, you'll gain access to better and better weapons, and the same thing is true here. For example, the Automatico. You have 3 variants of the Automatico. One I think is Factory, the other is Infantry, and the final one is Storm. I think you can unlock the first one at level 1, then level 3, then level 10. The one you unlock at level 10 is objectively better in every single way than the one you can unlock at level 1. I dislike this from a balance point of view. If I'm playing in a one-on-one fair gunfight with someone with a better gun than me, objectively better, what's the point of that? That's poor balance. I'm going to lose every time. I dislike this system. I think the guns should be side grades. I think they should offer alternative means of play. I don't think they should be objectively better, and I've never liked this progression system in Battlefield. So that's a problem. Also, there's a limited number of weapons and items available for unlock. So if you're the kind of person who likes that progression treadmill, likes unlocking new guns and new weapons, You might be a little disappointed here because for the assault class, I think there's maybe 3 or 4 different weapons, and then there's 3 variants on each of those weapons, so it's not hugely exciting. Now, they have added the Battle Pack skin system this time around, and you have various tiers of skins that you can unlock, which are nice cosmetic changes, but fundamentally, there aren't a lot of items and weapons in this game, so if you like that progression loot treadmill, you might be a little disappointed. Next up is probably my biggest complaint with Battlefield since Bad Company 2, and that is no tactical gameplay. The game gives the players the tools to play tactically. You have squads, you have voice communication, the squad leader can command his squad to go and attack a certain objective. You have classes that technically work together as a team. The problem is getting the community to actually use any of the tools available to them. No one used voice comms in the 20+ hours I played the multiplayer, not one person. I tried to use voice comms a number of times, no one responded to me. So there's no coordination there. When I was squad leader, I would order my squad mates to attack an objective, and they would ignore my orders and go off on their own and do whatever they wanted. There was no way to force them to do this, there's no way to penalize them for not playing as a team. I couldn't do anything about it. If your medic chooses not to heal you, tough shit, you lose. The reliance on team play for tactics here is so important, and when the team doesn't adhere to the tactics, doesn't listen to their squad leader, doesn't heal their teammates, everyone chooses to play snipers instead of playing classes that complement each other, the game devolves very, very quickly into a Twitch-based arena shooter. And the problem with that is that Battlefield is so big in terms of maps and it has vehicles that those types of mechanics don't work, because if you're running around trying to play the Twitch shooter game and there's a sniper 100 meters away from you, 200 meters, 300 meters away from you on a cliff, you're gonna die, and it's not gonna work. Team synergy is essential for capturing points, it's essential for rush and conquest. And people don't engage with the systems available to them. And most people, in most squads I played in, just run around playing the game as if it's Call of Duty. As such, it made the game significantly less enjoyable for me. Running around getting killed over and over and over again, and this game is a death fest, by the way. If you enjoyed dying in Battlefront, you will enjoy dying in Battlefield 1 because you'll die a lot. You'll die to people who are behind you, you'll die to people on hills, you'll die to tanks, you'll die to planes, you'll die to literally everything. Grenades. You're going to die a lot in this game. If you're the kind of person that likes going on massive kill streaks, don't expect to do that until you get very, very good at the game or get access to a tank or something along those lines. You're going to die. And unless you're very, very lucky, you're likely going to run into squads that don't work well together. They don't play classes that benefit each other, they don't heal their teammates, they don't follow orders, and when the game's playing like that, it's very, very unenjoyable. Now, in the rare event you do get a team that works together, the game can actually be very fun, and if you are able to get a group of regular people together, like a couple of friends, maybe 4 or 5 friends, who are going to run in a squad together and listen to each other and talk to each other on mic, maybe on TeamSpeak, I can imagine the game would be a lot more enjoyable. But from a public game perspective, there's practically no tactics involved, and it's a clusterfuck. Everyone just runs around spraying and praying, and I don't find that gameplay particularly engaging. Next up, snipers. Now, I talked about this briefly, but there needs to be some kind of limitation on snipers. It's ridiculous. The number of people running snipers in this game has not changed since the beta, and in the beta, it was ludicrous. It was ludicrous to the point where I would run into entire squads that were just all snipers. That's a poorly balanced game. If the best class for everyone to play is snipers, that should indicate something to the game developers about the balance of their systems. I think snipers need to be limited. I think there needs to be less of them. If you had maybe 1 sniper role per squad and 1 person could adopt that role, that would work fine. There are plenty of other games that do that. We have Squad, we have Insurgency, we have a number of games out there that say, okay, only 1 person can take this role. Red Orchestra 2 is a good example as well. They need to do something like that in Battlefield to address this issue of class balance. You know, everyone running snipers makes the game unenjoyable for everyone. So I think they need to do something about that. Flight controls are very, very poor, and I imagine this is because the game's focused on console play, but you can't roll the plane without the game automatically trying to roll you back in the other direction to keep you stable. You can't do loop-the-loops, you can't do any kind of interesting dogfighting tactics, and the controls feel sluggish and unresponsive, so flight controls are pretty poor on the biplanes and bombers in this game. There's no hardcore mode, which I think would address a lot of my concerns because it tends to force players to think a little more, play a little more cautiously, and work together as a team. I'm hoping with the introduction of that, people like me may get a more satisfying experience, but as of right now, it's not in the game. Finally, a minor criticism, but it is very frustrating after a while. You cannot change your loadout in the in-game menu. You have to do it within the game itself. You have to pick the class and then hit customize and then go in and buy whatever items it is you want. Now, I have two problems with this. One, if I'm in the middle of a game, I kind of want to be playing the game, not reading a whole bunch of stats and making sure I'm making the right purchase with my war bonds, which, by the way, you unlock as you play the game. Every time you level up, you get some war bonds and you get to spend them unlocking items. I don't want to be spending my time doing that during the game. I want to do that outside of the game. I also don't want to be a hindrance to my teammates who've now lost their medic because I'm going through a menu trying to work out which gun I want to buy. It seems like a no-brainer, and I understand they've moved away from the web-based browser system they had previously in Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3, and they're moving back into an in-game menu system. But I think it's kind of a bit of a mistake not to allow loadout customization in the main menu outside of the game. But those are my main complaints. The new game modes, I was unable to play them and test them because there weren't enough people playing them. The unlock system is not as deep as it used to be, and lacks balance. Certain guns are objectively better than other guns, and you can only get them in the late game. I have a fundamental problem with that from a game design perspective. There is very little tactics when it comes to team play. People do not synergize, they don't use voice comms, they don't follow orders, they don't heal each other. No one works together as a team, and in an objective-focused game, that's very important. Snipers are very overpowered and everyone uses them. Flight controls are poor, there's no hardcore mode, and you cannot customize your loadouts in menu. So, the final question is, do I recommend this game to you? If you're a person like me, if you like tactical games like Squad, for example, or Red Orchestra 2, or even Project Reality or Arma 3, if you're the kind of person who likes that tactical, methodical gameplay where you work with your team to achieve an objective, I'm not sure Battlefield is for you anymore. It may have been in the past, I'm not sure it is today. If you're the kind of person who just likes really cool visuals and you like to run around in tanks and shoot people and have more of a Call of Duty experience, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, because Call of Duty does what it does very well, then this game is more likely to be down your alley, because it doesn't offer that tactical play that I'm looking for. So if you're like me, I wouldn't recommend the multiplayer to you. However, if you just want to have a bit of fun and run around and shoot some dudes and blow up some tanks and, capture some points, or you really enjoy Battlefield as it currently is in Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3, then I would recommend you pick it up. But then again, you probably already have. If you found this video helpful or useful in some way and you want to support my channel, you can use my Green Man Gaming affiliate link below to buy your games. You'll get a discount and I'll get a small kickback. If you want to support me financially, you can do so on Patreon. You'll find a link in the description box below for that. And if you can't support me in those ways and you still want to help out the channel, you can like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.